They say, show me a woman without shame, and I'll show you a man. Welcome to Shameless Parenting. Welcome to the first episode of Shameless Parenting.
Thanks for having me. Although I don't think I had a choice if I was going to be on your podcast or not.
No, you can probably tell that our voices are a bit croaky.
Yes.
We've had a firestorm of illnesses rain down on us from our kids, but we had to do this today, and maybe tell listeners why.
Well, because we could be giving birth at any moment, really.
I love that you said we as well. Because Well,
we're going to talk a bit about that, the role that obviously you need to play as well. It's a team sport, kind of.
And we're also sitting very close. Our legs are actually touching so that we can get both in the frame. All right. Well, welcome to Shameless Parenting. And this is a podcast about a bit of a male's perspective on parenting. I think too often it's all like a female space. So we're going to carve out a little bit here in this show to kind of have a look at the male perspective, have a look at what's good, the bad, the ugly. And this week's topic is all about birth, which we're just about to experience again for the second time any day now.
Yep, that's right. And I think that this is a really fantastic concept that you've launched with, because when it comes to supporting women, when it comes to supporting women around birth, around kids, etc., it's really important that obviously we're highlighting the role that men can really play in that. So I'm excited for the chat we're going to have today.
All right. So every episode is going to start off with a shameless story from a man's perspective. Either, a partner dobbing on their husband or partner or whatever it is, or something a stream of messages that we're going to have a look at. So today's one is all about a birth story, and it's submitted by a recent mother. So, dear podcast, I just had to share the story of our latest family adventure, the birth of our child. Amidst the chaos, pain, and beauty of childbirth, my husband managed to turn it into a spectacle about him. Just as I was in the thick of labour, he dramatically fainted, stealing the spotlight and requiring the nurses to rush to his aid, leaving me momentarily bewildered and very alone. They even had to give him gas to calm him down. And later, he could not stop complaining about his sleeping arrangements, a little fold-out chair that, according to him, was far too inadequate for a night's rest. It was as if the whole birthing experience was a trial for him. I love him dearly, but that day he was more high maintenance than the baby we would ever have. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I feel like you hear this a lot. Men fainting in the delivery room and then kind of, I guess, taking resources away from their partner who is in the thick of labour and going through it all. I'm very lucky that it's not something that I'm afraid of you doing, because I think you're pretty strong and able to deal with a lot of blood and things that are going on.
I put it on my resume as one of my strengths. Can deal with gore and blood.
Yeah, exactly.
They actually even asked, remember, when you were getting the epidural, they said, "Oh, do you want to watch?" Well, I think I asked them, "Could I watch?" And they're like, "Oh, okay." And so I went around the business end and watched them put the needle into the spine. It was pretty crazy. Yeah.
You're pretty good at handling all that stuff, which is really good. So I'm not worried about that. But you do hear this all the time. I think, look, there's nothing that a guy can do if he's going to faint. I'm sure he wouldn't faint if he could control it. So that side of things is...
So you don't think some controlled exposure of like watching birthing videos, or is that going to make things worse?
I don't know if that's going to make things better or worse. So can't blame him for that part. But when it comes to afterwards, in terms of complaining about the chair, the situation and so forth, absolutely, I've got zero time for that.
I almost, really surprised about this story, because I kind of feel like nurses are so anti-man, like the midwifery and the experience are so anti-man that I actually almost can't imagine them rushing to the aid of the husband.
I'll leave him. He'll get back up soon.
Just, put him in the corner, throw a blanket on him like a drunk guy.
Yeah.
But I kind of have questions about this, but I do agree. If you're squeamish around blood and needles and things like that, there's not that much you can control, I think. The guy probably already feels quite emasculated from fainting. But I think there's this pervasive myth that women just have much, much higher pain thresholds than men. Like, do you think that's true?
No, I think that we're just expected to, because for some reason during childbirth, unlike any other major surgery or, dental procedure or whatever you're going through that's painful, for some reason with childbirth specifically, we're expected to push through it and not take a whole lot of pain relief. And if anything, you're kind of stigmatized if you do.
It's like that nun on Game of Thrones. Shame.
Absolutely. It's like, how dare you get that epidural, which ultimately is saving you a whole bunch of pain and so forth. And there's a whole bunch of myths, I think, around epidurals and the impacts of them that, maybe existed, even up to a few years ago that don't, anymore. So encourage everyone to kind of educate and have a think about, what's the right pain relief for them as well.
Yeah, there definitely is worth talking about that there's a stigma and a method around natural birth, and the midwives are very serious about this, and you do experience a level of shame or something to that, when you try to ask for pain relief sometimes.
Yeah,
there was a great
absolutely.
article about that recently, actually, in the last week, about how lots of women have been denied epidurals, even though they've been asking for it sometimes, 4 or 5 times during the labouring process. But they were denied it either because the midwives thought that they should push on and that they could handle it and this was a normal pain, or access, that they didn't have the right doctor there at the time, which was alarming. Even on our last one, he had to be, someone had to go get him from his house. He's like, okay, I'll come.
Yeah, lucky he was available.
Yeah, it was like an Uber thing. It's like, oh, am I only coming out for one order? Can we wait till there's 2 orders or something? I was like, get here now.
100%. And I think that's where the role, I think, of the partner is really important in terms of advocating and pushing for that for your partner as well, and kind of not taking no for an answer.
Yeah.
And thinking about, the doctor and support that you have. I'm very lucky that I've been able to go through the private system and have a very supportive doctor who, we've talked about, what that would look like in terms of pain relief or not. But absolutely, and I would say it's not just midwives, it's probably the previous generation. And kind of comments potentially from, I would say my own mother around the use of an epidural. So I had an epidural after about 10 hours maybe of labour with Rose the first time, and so glad that I did. I had an incredible experience and it worked really well for us. But, absolutely there is, a stigma attached to that, even though you still push the baby out.
It's like the e-bike experience. You still get the experience of pedaling, but you just get a little bit of help getting up the hill.
100%. And I would totally use an e-bike as well.
It's the only way to see Rottnest Island. So public service announcement for anyone who is considering pain relief. Epidurals advancements have changed a lot. It's a lot more adaptive now. They can do a lot of things to increase or decrease the dosage to make sure that you're in the right zone. It's not like before where as soon as you have it, you can't feel anything. You're like essentially a paraplegic. That's not what happens at all. So, talk to your doctors about it. And another thing that we'll probably share is that if you're really interested in this, the private-public divide experience does matter in this respect. And I think it's fair to say that private doctors are kind of more readily there to help you with these kind of things than if you were in the public system. So it's worth kind of considering that as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the dreaded chair, the chair bed, because this is something that actually I don't want to dob anyone in particular, but lots of fathers have spoken to me about that. Why does that chair need to be such a torture device for men?
I feel like yours wasn't that bad. It was like what's that? It's those long chair. It was like a chase. Chase, yeah, exactly.
But I have seen the traditional one that they're talking about. It's this government issue pleather chair that folds out in like a horrible way. And I'm a relatively, on the shorter side for a man. So I am sympathetic to, some 6'6" daddy long legs trying to make good with that situation. It's such a petty thing to complain about a chair after your wife's gone through birth and the trauma that comes along with birth. But I do think that you can't have it both ways. If you want men and partners to be part of the experience and to be, contributing, then a little bit of thought for them. I'm going to advocate for that, or I'm going to stand up for men there. It's definitely not worth complaining about at the time, but that could go in the feedback box, I think.
Yeah. First of all, I would say that if you can stay overnight with your partner, that in itself is a privilege because you can only really do that with the first baby.
Yeah.
After that, that becomes a whole lot harder to do as well. Secondly, I would think about, yes, I can understand totally where you're coming from. But at the same time, when it comes to, and if I think about our experience waking up during the night, dealing with the baby, et cetera, there's not really a lot that the man is necessarily doing overnights. If anything, I actually wanted you, and maybe this is the angle to come from when it comes to actually providing some sort of better sleeping arrangement. I kind of wanted you to sleep a little bit better during the night so that you could take over a bit more during the day so that I could rest. Because during the night when you're there's a lot happening. You're feeding, you're settling, but also for some reason, all these random tests have to happen at night as well. So you're wheeling the baby here, wheeling the baby there at like 2 a.m. for this very specific test.
A lot of loud beeping.
Yes.
Definitely a lot of loud beeping.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, that's all I really want to say about this Shameless story. I think that definitely try not to complain about the situation. Not much you can do about fainting, but definitely try to make an effort not to steal attention away in such a crucial point. So
suffer in silence, I think, or bring your own blow-up mattress.
Yeah. All right, so I won't go into that too much more for this this man, and you've got some work to do, I think, for the next one. But yeah, I think that you this classic thing about men taking up too much space, right, in these areas. My defense to that is that when it comes to motherhood, birth, children, it's kind of like a wedding in some ways. It's all about the woman. So I would just say that, yeah, this is not the time for a man to take up space, 100%, but there isn't really any good time for a man to take up space when it comes to the miracle of childbirth, and modern parenting is such a female-dominated space.
They shouldn't be taking up space. They should be leaning in and seeing where they can help and what they can do. Obviously, they can't physically breastfeed the baby, but there is so much more that men can be doing. So I think we need to come at it from an angle of where can you be leaning in and doing more, whether that is changing nappies, whether it is making sure there's a full stock of nappies and everything is available for your partner, whether it is food related, drink related, all that kind of stuff. There is so much that a man can be doing to be helping. So I think that's the angle. It's not so much taking up space. It's where can you help lift your partner up. That's
a generational thing too. I love it how, our parents' generation, that was the hard line under, men parenting, that they'll get down, but they won't change the nappy.
Yeah.
And that was like a thing. So that's definitely something that's changed. I wonder why. It was just like it was a thing, how a masculinity thing maybe.
Yeah, and I think that they just weren't around as much. They were at work.
All right. So we're going to move on. So that's our shameless story for the week. And the next focus of the podcast is really talking about products and experiences. So every week we'll take a topic and we'll look at what our view of the best and worst product or experience in the space is. Because we've got a surprise for our listeners. We're going to be actually almost field testing and developing a product of our own to be released in a certain season as well. So we're going to actually create a community to test some products and hopefully build some things and release some things that really make sense to parents going through these experiences. So best and worst time. What is your worst?
Starting with worst.
We're going to start with worst. Definitely.
Mamma Mia style.
Mamma Mia. Oh,
They always start with worst and then end on the best. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, shoot.
Okay, so worst. There's a lot of things that I use. So I've actually got a lot more to say around kind of best than when it comes to kind of worst, because I think there's so many different things that you can use that are going to be helpful, but it's about where do you want to spend your money, because there's a lot that you could spend your money on. I would say one of the worst was when it came to ice packs. After you give birth, there's actually a lot of ice that you need. And the hospital basically have these like random bags of ice that you're constantly trying to hunt down, etc., because you need bags of ice for your downstairs area that's gone through a pretty kind of traumatic experience.
So men definitely don't ask for ice drinks at the same time. It's a different kind of ice.
Yeah, exactly. It's something else that guys can do is make sure that that your partner has lots of ice kind of stocked up. And also when your milk comes in as well, having ice and stuff there as well. And I just remember the first time constantly having these awful bags of random ice that were melting everywhere, and you were constantly having to go out and get more and more ice, etc., etc. And so this exists obviously on the market, but making sure actually you're prepared with some of that stuff. So there are some great ice packs out there that will help with all of that. And you can have really specific things, obviously, for your breast, for when your milk comes in, for your perineum, everything and stuff as well. So making sure you're kind of prepared for that as well. The other thing I was thinking about around worst was so breastfeeding is very painful, even if you're doing everything completely correct. One of the best advices that a friend said to me was that it will still be painful at the beginning. So kind of get yourself kind of in that frame of mind that the first few weeks, even if they've got the perfect latch, everything, it will be painful.
There is no such thing as the perfect latch. As you know from being in the hospital, or if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting a real-life lactation consultant, you're always doing it wrong. No matter how spread out the lips are, special K lips, it's never wide enough, right? It has to be like an anaconda dislodged their jaw and is now sucking on your titty. So the most hilarious visual reference I ever saw for the latch technique was like Trump lips, when he says China and he like puckers his lips at the end. That's a no-no, because Trump's bad. We don't want no Trump lips on the nip.
God, no. And, that's a great image that you've now put into my brain right before I'm about to
just
give
wiping
birth.
off the orange fake tan.
Oh, God, gross. There are lots of things on the market to help, but one of the best things on the market is these, hydrogel pads that you can put on your breast after you've been feeding, etc., that really help with the healing and they're cooling and they're absolutely amazing. The problem is that you can't breastfeed directly after. You have to wash your breast after you've used it before you can feed again. And it's just not what you want to be doing at that moment. You are feeding all the time at the beginning, round the clock. Those hydrogel things are amazing, but the fact that you literally have to wash your breast before you feed your baby is just such a pain. And you're constantly like, have I washed it enough? How much do I need to wash it? How do I even physically wash my breast
more
in
like
a basin? Exactly. So there's lots of obviously, lanolin. There's silver cups that I'm going to try this time as well.
Those silver cups are adorable, by the way. They're like nipple tassel cups, but made of a special metal for healing, right?
Well, I'm going to try them out this time because while I really liked the hydrogel, I hated having to wash my breast every time. So we'll see how the silver cups go.
They remind me of the Monopoly pieces, like the top hat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Except a lot bigger.
Unfortunately, yes.
Because if anyone's not aware, your nipples do grow a lot in size when you are pregnant as well.
I know mine have. All right. Okay, so I'll go with my worst now.
Okay.
And I'll take a little bit of a different angle. I'm going to leave the chair alone. And I'm going to talk about birth classes. And actually, I'll try to find some footage or a link to this. But, excuse me, I have a very vivid memory of sitting down in an education class for expectant mothers and fathers. And when it came time to talk to the men, and it was this everything you can imagine about a liberal midwife giving this training, a hippie kind of thing. We were presented with a 3-page pamphlet, bright orange with a racing stripe on it, and it said, think of your impending newborn like a new car. You might not, because it's a new model, you might not fall in love with it right away. You might not know how to operate it. You might not know what kind of fuel goes in it and what kind of maintenance it needs. And all these really clumsy motorsport references. And I could just see the female authors in a room like copywriting this and saying, oh, how do we reach these dumb cavemen? We're going to have to do something around cars or sports. Otherwise, they're just not going to get it. And it was so demeaning. It was really, really demeaning. And that's what I mean about carving out a bit of a man space in this area. Like, that is, if you're already someone who's going to these classes and being supportive and things like that, you deserve more than that. You don't need to be spoken to like somehow you're only going to understand this reference because it has gasoline, adjacent references, right? And it's so silly, I think. And I was really disappointed about it. Our taxpayer dollars went into that. That was a public course.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I hope they've gotten rid of that material. I will try to find it. So that's my worst. All right, let's hit it with best.
Best. I'm going to go with a TENS machine. I highly recommend that everyone rents a TENS machine if you are planning on a spontaneous birth and not a pre-planned, C-section, etc. If you are planning on labouring at home, they are great. They get to a point, I will be totally honest, where the pain gets to a level where I don't know how much the TENS machine is working, but for those few hours...
The boost won't boost anymore.
It won't boost anymore. Those few hours when you are at home, or to be honest, it could even be a few days, depending on what's kind of going on with your labour. Everyone has different experiences. TENS machine is awesome. It was one of the things that I made sure we had the second time around because I really used it the first time. Downside of the TENS machine is if you want to do a water birth, if you want to be in the bath at home, if you want to be in the bath, at the hospital, can't do that with a TENS machine, attached to you. But I think they are fantastic to help you get you through those early stages of labour.
So for anyone who's listening who's totally unfamiliar with what a TENS machine is, it's a device that sends an electrical current, and there's pads that go on your back near your spine, and it sends these electrical currents in, and it gives you a kind of tingly feeling to almost disrupt the pain receptors. So it kind of interferes with your feeling of the discomfort when you're having contraction.
Yeah.
And it's it looks really crazy, like almost something you would see that gives CPR or an defibrillator or something. But it's very effective, and they've been around for a while and very safe.
Yeah, and there's lots of places where you can rent them from. There's lots of places online now that will actually just post them to you, and you can rent them for 4 to 6 weeks. So you can just Google and find one that kind of works for you.
Yeah, that's really good. So I think that my best is actually going to be probably a little bit more controversial, and it's going to be, again, a man's point of view. Is often up to the man to get the car ready. While the mother is recovering, that dreaded first journey down when you're leaving the bubble of the maternity ward and you have to package this tiny little fragile gremlin from the Perspex tub into the car. And one of the best things I can say, if you do have the opportunity and the money, and all of that is I'm clarifying all of that as it's up to you, capsules.
Yeah.
Capsules. So instead of a car seat that just stays in the car and has to be reverse facing, a capsule can clip in and out, and it gives you the ability to put your child into the capsule in a environment, in a place where you're not stressed, like beside the road trying to open the door, but it never really opens up because there's a car next to you, there's traffic, there's noise, people are watching you. No, you can take the capsule up into the room, clip the baby in. This thing is like a tank. You could drop it down the stairs and the baby would be fine. He'll be like an F1 racer in this thing. And then you can just, when you get to the car, just clip it in. It's so good. And not only that, if the baby falls asleep, which regularly happens when they're newborns, you can clip them in and out, take them into the house. They can sleep a little bit more, wake up naturally. I know a lot of people say that it's a waste of money because they grow out of it so fast. But for me, I'm all about chasing a good experience for the mother and father in those early days. And I think it's such a good experience. 100%.
And I would say our experience when we've gone into stores is we've actually often been steered away from buying a capsule because of the fact that they can only use it for the first 6 to 12 months. And then, whereas, a newborn seat they can use from straight away, etc. We love the capsule so much that we rented one the first time we had Rose. And we used it for 6 months with Rose, and we were like, oh, I'm not quite ready to give this capsule back yet.
We would have used it for longer.
Absolutely would have used it for longer. We've actually bought one now for the second time around because we loved it so much. You can rent them, you can buy them secondhand, and obviously you can buy them new, and you can sell them on, afterwards as well. But it's 100%, I think, worth it.
And again, just to clarify for everyone, we are both under 6 foot. If you are both NBA players and you're coming out with a 5-kilo baby, maybe this advice does not apply to you.
Because you'll be carrying them around in this capsule.
You'll be carrying around and they won't fit in the capsule. But yeah, that's my best and worst. Okay, so the last segment really is just a final message on birthing. And we want to focus on essentially your message to men.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a man is trying to be supportive and trying to do it right from a woman's perspective, what do they need to be doing? What do they need to focus on in all the noise?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to broaden this out to not just to say dads, but any kind of, partner that's supporting someone who
Support
is
person, support seal.
person. Absolutely. Whether that's a same sex, relationship, etc. and so forth as well. Basically the other person who is not the one that is currently kind of giving birth specifically. And I would say that, there is such an important role that you have to reassure and support your partner when you are preparing for birth, and especially if it's something that could spontaneously happen at any time, or if it's a C-section and you're, obviously have other types of, nervousness around that, because that's a very major, procedure, etc., that you're going in. The role that you can play to help comfort your partner, to give them reassurance that you are essentially supporting them in every way that you can, obviously, and so that they can just focus on what they need to do, which is being with their body and going through the birth experience, is so important. And also directly afterwards as well, being there to see what their needs are, whether that's grabbing food, drinks, changing baby, being really proactive in that way, is so important, because it's a team sport. And it takes, it does take a village, and in particular the two of you together working as partners to make this a really great experience for both of you.
Really good answer. I'm not going to try to top that. And all I would say from our perspective is, guys, be there, be present, and show a lot of patience and support. Try to preempt some things. I think that goes a long way, of just pausing every now and then and thinking a few steps ahead about what is needed. And so that if you're, and this is more of an announcement for if you're the type of guy who takes a lot of direction from your partner, try to break that cycle for this. Try to kind of think a bit more forward, and help that dynamic along, so that you can provide that support and take that mental load off. But yeah, that's birth today. So that was really good. Our first one, we launched straight into it. So in future episodes, you're going to find out more about ourselves and our family. We didn't give you the whole intro today, but that'll come. And we're going to get lots of different guests on. Steph, you're going to come on regularly. So is Christine. But in the meantime, we'll also have other dads, guests, people have been through certain experiences. And away we go.
Next time we chat, we would have given birth, and we might have some more tips from second time round as well.
Might be some background noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.